Well, welcome everybody back to the Flying Doghouse. We are closing in on the end of 2025, and I think it's time for us to take a step back and reflect on just all what we have experienced and endured and been amazed by with Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. So I think that one of the things that I want to do is to start out by saying, first up, I think we can all agree that when Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 was first released, it wasn't ready for prime time. And I think that's evidence based on really what I would call a scramble to get to a stable platform. So we got Sim Update 1 and then Sim Update 2. And we still didn't have, I think, a product that was, meeting anyone's expectations, right? I don't think that Microsoft was necessarily happy with the market reaction that they got from that. And quite frankly, I think the best way to describe Sim Update 1 and 2 is you can give a Rolex to a pig, but it's still a pig. And there are lots of different, illustrations of that kind of idea that we could banter around. So I'm going to switch over into the Sim. I'm actually sitting on the deck of one of Miltech's aircraft carriers. But let me just say this, and I've thought about how I was going to go about doing this video. This is just outstanding. And part of the improvement that we're seeing here is, the hard work and the struggle that the development community has achieved to move us forward. And also, to be fair, Microsoft has been grinding at Sim Update 4 in an attempt to get us to a stable product. But there's a lot of stuff in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 that's just terrific. I think the cold hard reality is that, hardware requirements are different than what they were in 2020. And there's still some things that Microsoft and Asobo have not delivered on, for sure. And we can all be, critical of that. But I think one of the things that is encouraging to me, and some of you might not agree with this, and I've heard pros and cons, to Microsoft releasing Flight Sim on the PlayStation. Well, to be honest, if you roll back the clock, the early iterations of Microsoft Flight Simulator were multi-platform. So I don't fault Microsoft and Asobo for trying to broaden the product footprint. I think that's good and that's healthy. More simmers is better for all of us, I think. And certainly there have been some significant progress made, I guess, in the last 6 months, just to be honest. And I have also been an open critic to what I would still point out, that Microsoft and Asobo have a whole lot to learn about software releases and testing. And under-promising and over-delivering. And also part of that lays on our doorstep too, I think, right? We conveyed unrealistic expectations, perhaps, on some of the things that we were expecting Microsoft 2024 Simulator Update to do. So that inflated sense of expectations, I think, also has played into some of the frustration that we've all felt with the product. Now, having said all of that, is Sim Update 4 rainbows and butterflies? No, I don't. I don't think it's rainbows and butterflies, and it's still not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Um, I've continued to have issues here and yon since Sim Update 4. Settings disappearing, having to be reset, some crashes to desktop, but to be honest with you, those have been decreasing in frequency. And a lot of folks have been experiencing issues with Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 on an increasing level of frequency. So I'm not sure what explains that. Part of it, I think, is video drivers not playing nicely. So unsure. I'm not. My experience with 2020 has pretty much been rock solid, although I have had some issues with 20 as well. And to further elaborate on that, you're gonna have problems with a game that's this complex. That's reality. So from time to time, I think I take some heat with expecting the product to be perfect. No, I don't expect it to be perfect. I do expect that when something gets pointed out that is of significance, that it gets addressed and fixed. And there are examples of things. If you go over onto the official forum, you're going to see a whole laundry list of frustrations that some folks have experienced, while me not using those particular aspects of the product never even nicked me on the way by. So I think we do have to recognize that this is a large community with a diversified set of interest. But I think in the final analysis, I think we have finally gotten to at least a keystone moment here. I do think that we've got maybe the foundation for the office building built, right? Or the house, whichever analogy you want to use. And again, we've all got our pet projects and our set of frustrations with various things, right? So one of the things that does pop into my head is all the issues that have been flying around with the 737-700 from, I won't even mention the vendor's name, Vendor X. How about that? I know that some of my friends who fly in VR have been very frustrated, right? But it seems with Sim Update 4 beta moving forward, some of those concerns I think have been alleviated. And if you are using VR, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section to talk about what your experience has been. I'm a flat screener, so I'm not using VR. So again, as I just mentioned, this is a very broad community. And I think one of the frustrations perhaps across the entire community is maybe some varied issues, right, that we have experienced. Some people haven't had any problems or many problems. I shouldn't say any. Any is not accurate. They have had minor issues and warts and concerns, while some people were really on the struggle bus. Particularly with Sim Update 1 and Sim Update 2, I watched my Xbox friends really struggle. I mean, multiple reload attempts, not being able to, to get an update successfully through, crashing over and over again. And some of that took place on the PC as well. So again, I don't want to paint Sim Update 4 as the magical cure-all, because we all know it's not. But I do think that it finally gets us to a place where the product is stable enough to really consider, do you continue to use Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 if you have the hardware and and memory and graphics card capable of successfully running the environment. And I think sometimes we've maybe turned a blind eye to that. The other thing that I would just point out in all candor is that there are a lot of people who spend their time and their energy chasing the latest thing. It's the fear of missing out. It's, oh my God, there's a new video driver. I've got to go download it right now because it's probably going to fix some of those issues I've been having. And in reality, you've created your own churn. So it's just something to think about, right? I have never had, I guess it's all the years that I have spent in information technology. I don't want to be an early adopter because I know that it leads to heartache and problems. If you're okay with it, and you can, ride the wave, then good on you. But, my time is, in terms of the sim, is very limited. And I have been very frustrated with trying to create content for 24, right? And participate in the community and hopefully contribute some things when I've had to deal with crashes to desktop in the middle of content creation and had to build that content several times. So I think that's one of the things that sort of gets lost in the mix, is that the time that we have in the hobby is limited and in most cases and precious. And the last thing that we want to be doing is chasing down a problem. So at any rate, what do you think? What has your experience been with Sim Update 4? How do you feel about the product since it's been repaired and we got the new release? I mean, my goodness, spend a moment looking at the release notes. There's a lot of stuff here, folks. Now, the other thing that I guess I would say, and this is sort of a repeat on something I talked about on a previous video, but there's still things that are broken that just aggravate me to no end. There are 2 broken helicopters that have great promise that still don't work for whatever reason. There are popular airframes that got broken during the process and are still broken. And career mode, leaves folks, sort of leaving feeling less than. My point with all of that is it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But do I feel it's time to really concentrate effort and energies in 2024? Yeah, for me, the answer to that is absolutely. But I think there are a lot of people in the sim community who aren't going to feel that way. And that's okay. I'll give you a direct example. So one of the things that we have been talking about on a Discord that I participate in, and we have group flights, we've been talking about when is it going to be right to move to Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. And there was some energy and interest around doing that, right after Sim Update 2 from our community, but we continued to all have problems. So we started a Wednesday night flight that was using Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. And there were a lot of occasions where people just ended up dropping out of the flight because it just flat wasn't working. Well, that was then, and this is now. And starting in January of 2026, our primary focus on delivering group flights is going to be in 2024. And that doesn't mean we're not going to have issues and problems. And I understand all of that. But I do feel like we have now reached that sort of critical mass point, I think, in terms of being able to successfully move forward with the product. But love to hear what you think. So there we have it. Is it rainbows and butterflies? Nope. Is it a flaming dumpster fire? Absolutely not. So appreciative of all the efforts, appreciative of the efforts of the development community too, to have some persistence. and keep at it. And especially to members of the development community who are building freeware for us to share with each other. Because there has been a lot of rework that has needed to be done on that particular front to make things successful in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. All right, if you've made it this far, please give us a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We would love to have you along for the journey, which continues. And we are rapidly moving into 2026. So as of recording of this video, there's currently a holiday sale going on in the store, in the marketplace. And there are also a number of other storefronts that are offering things at a discount. So if you're thinking about, improving your livery collection or numbers of aircraft that you might want to consider flying, then now is probably a great time to do that. With that, I am going to leave it here, folks. I do hope everybody is keeping well. And as always, cheers, y'all.